A pleasant day to everyone. My report is about major issues affecting supply chain management. Information technology enables supply chain management including the web, the internet, the intranet and extranets, the EDI or electronic data interchange, the barcode scanner, and point of sale demand information. Business to business e-commerce are businesses selling to and buy from other businesses. So here are the evolution of B2B e-commerce. In the 1970s, automated order entry systems developed. It is a method using telephone models to send digital orders to suppliers. While in the late 1970s, electronic data interchange or EDI developed. It is a form of computer-to-computer communication that enables sharing businesses documents. And in the midst of 1990s, electronic storefronts developed. It is an online catalog of products made available to the general public by a single supplier. While in the late 1990s, net marketplaces are developed. Suppliers and buyers conduct trade in a single interface environment. And lastly, the virtual private network or the VPN is a computer network linked in a single environment mode and carried by open conversation or virtual circuit on the internet instead of physical wire. And lastly, the VPN or virtual private network is a computer network in which some of the links between nodes are carried by open connection or virtual circuits on the internet instead of by physical wires. Now let's go to the business to consumer e-commerce. Commonly, businesses using this kind of e-commerce directly communicate with their consumer by posting their product to the website or in the internet for them to have more communication to their consumer and to negotiate well to them. Now let's go to the consumer expectation and competition resulting from e-commerce. Online retailing or business to consumer e-commerce has shifted the power from the suppliers and the consumers. This shift in power has occurred because the internet greatly reduced search and transactions costs from the consumer. Since customers have access to so many suppliers, it is important for suppliers to differentiate themselves by providing customers with excellent value. Globalization. Globalization is the process of interaction between people, companies, and governments worldwide. Globalization has grown due to advances in transportation and communication technology. With increased global interaction comes the growth of international trade and culture. Government regulation in e-commerce. Government regulation is still unresolved about the internet. Although early internet users claimed that internet could not be resolved because of this decentralized design and its ability to create border. It is clear that internet can't be controlled. The following issues are taxation, copyright infringement, and lastly, the public safety and welfare. Now let's go to the green supply chain management. Green supply chain management is considered as an environmental innovation. It is the concept to integrate environmental thinking into supply chain management. It aims to minimize or eliminate wastage, including hazardous chemical emissions, energy and solid waste along supply chain, such as product design, material sourcing and selection, manufacturing process, delivery of final product, and end-of-life management of the product. So I have here an example of carbon footprint of potato chip in supply chain. So infrastructure issues. Global supply chain with members in developing countries can face substantial infrastructure issues such as inadequate transportation networks, limited telecommunication capabilities, uncertain power continuity, low worker skill, poor supply availability and quality. Each of these issues increases uncertainty in supply and demand for the supply chain, which results in higher costs and poorer service. Now let's go to the product proliferation. Product proliferation occurs when organizations market many variations of the same products. This can be done through different color combinations, product sizes, and different product uses. This produces diversity for the firm for them to be able to capture its sizable portion of the market. Sourcing issues. Vertical integration, a measure of how much of the supply chain is actually owned or operated by the manufacturing company. The insource is the process or activities that are completed in-house, while the outsource is the process or activities that are completed by suppliers. The backward integration is the owning or controlling sources of raw materials and components, and the forward integration is the owning or controlling the channels of distributions. Developing suppliers relationship. A strong supplier base is essential to the success of many organizations. Choosing a supplier is like choosing where to shop for something you want to buy. The first thing you decide is which merchants have the product or services you want. Adequate quality for the product or service is usually a prerequisite for even considering a merchant. So I have here a chart when you want to choose to have a single or one supplier or even multiple or complex supplier. Developing partnership. Partnership is a process of developing a long-term relationship with a supplier based on mutual trust, shared vision, shared information, and shared risks. So there are two kinds of partnership, the basic and expanded. A basic partnership is built on mutual respect, honesty, trust, open and frequent communications, and a shared understanding of each partner's role in helping the supply chain achieve its own objective, while expanded partnerships are reserved for a few key suppliers. These are long-term relationships built on mutual strategic goals. Expanded partners must be committed in helping each other succeed. They must place a high priority on maintaining the relationship and on sharing information, risks, opportunities, and technologies. Thank you for listening. That's all my report. Have a good day. God bless.